we're just going to see some absolute fireworks as we go through today.
This is Lola Al-Mari, just, oh gosh, trembling. Fantastic. It just shows you the weight of expectations that some have. This will, for some riders, be the biggest stage they've ever performed upon.
Completely. And that's why it matters. That's why it's important. Because until you go out and you do this and you do it in this level of a real scenario, you're not going to have that under your belt. So that's why we've seen this part of the world doing so much cycling development, and it's just getting better and better and better, and it's really, really important. Now, I know a moment ago we were just talking about how effectively riders come back from crashes, from injury. I mean, we've seen it so prominently, haven't we, in recent years, with the best riders in our sport being taken out with huge detrimental effects, huge injuries, but coming back so quickly. And I don't know about you, Carlton, but sometimes I have to go back and check myself on when was it that they had that accident, incident, race scenario, because it is seemingly like the blink of an eye that they're not only back in the peloton, but they're back to winning. And so we were talking about Soraya Paladin, who's of course started her TT effort today, and she broke her collarbone in that crash in the Tour de France Femmes. At stage 7, she had to retire from the race, and it'll be really interesting to see how that recovery's gone for her and how she goes today as quite an early starter.
Do you know what? I did my collarbone, compression fracture of my right collarbone in 2016. I still haven't got over it. That was a long time ago.
Sorry, I'm not laughing at the fact that you're not over a significant injury. But it's when riders at world level are experiencing these injuries, it's just such a different, obviously it's a different process, but in terms of the medical attention of the bigger riders, it's so crucial, isn't it? Because they're straight into an assessment. Do we need to do surgery? I presume when you and I break a bone, we don't go straight into the option of patching us up back to full form within a couple of weeks. And, you know, you're often told your recovery time, aren't you, around 6 weeks perhaps minimum for a broken bone. But riders are back so fast because a lot of them do have the expert team of medical experts around them to get them back so fast. But sometimes we do see people come back too quickly and then suffer along the line a couple of seasons later. So it is important to get it right. But I am sorry that you broke your collarbone and you're still suffering.
It's nice of you to back ref that. Biran Abra is next for Ethiopia. We will have Norway's Ugset after that. Miranglise from Mauritius, followed by Marta Hussens from Belgium. So, yeah, you can see it's a proper global mix that we have. Patapova we are riding with at the moment, just to give you an update on some of our checkpoints. Timing, it is Frolova that has set the benchmark at the first timing point. She's been through there in a 19:10, same time actually as Nerere, so they are actually tied. Not quite sure because it's actually gone to the thousandths, that those two timings. So I'm imagining that possibly one of them is gone faster than the other. But for the time being, at least, Frolova and Nerere are issued with at the exact same time of 19:10.77. Not quite sure that that is even possible, to be honest. But anyway, they'll get separated a little bit later on, as they're riding with the same transponder. You just don't know. Watango is a further 18 seconds down, and then it really does fall away. Kiplagat trailing by 3 minutes at the first timing point, and you're going to see some very big gaps. They will start to compress a little bit later on, so don't worry too much about that. This is going to be a well fought for course, and as you can see, Nerere is actually coming to the second checkpoint. In fact, she has been through it at a 32.33. Watango nearest to her, but giving away 47 seconds as it stands at the moment. So half an hour into the run, 39 minutes in fact for Nerere. We did say that don't be surprised if we start to see some riders nudging up to the 45-minute plus marker. But we'll get our first benchmark. I think some quick times today will be able to give you a better assessment of what we're expecting once we get the opening times through. little bit of a hint there of the rainbow bands, as you can see, but only in reflection at the moment, as we have our start house here at the BK Arena. And next off is Sigrid Uterhus Uxet of Norway. Gosh, we've actually nudged up towards the Arctic Circle. We're back down, indeed, probably the longest trip actually. We're now back down all the way here at the tropics, the equator almost, essentially. She comes from Burkak, and that is nudging up towards the Arctic Circle. That's a change of environment.
For sure, and we're starting to get into the part of today's field of starters in this race. We're getting some really familiar names that we've seen plenty of action throughout the Women's World Tour season this year. And going back to a rider you mentioned a moment ago, Anna van der Breggen, she will be going off in a few riders' time, just actually after Tennille Campbell, who I'm excited also to see back in this field today. But yeah, we're going to start to see some names that could be pretty big contenders for getting a firm seat in that hot seat.
Well, just look at this. By the way, that, I believe, is the central market. It is. It's the Kimaronko market. Now, not only for you, is it lively, and as you can hear, fantastic. Do you know what you can get here? Batik shirts. I know. I'll show you mine later. Yeah, it is spectacular. I actually once went to a market such as this. It was actually in Timbuktu. And I said, I want the full costume, please, because they actually made them by hand. Here we are. There we are. These amazing. So full costume, please. And they said none of them are for sale. I said, what do you mean? He said they're commissioned by families, and you can only have them if. I said, what's the lead-in time? He said 6 years. And then one of the guys comes and he says, there is one actually. We haven't seen the family for 10 years, and so we think we can let it go. And anyway, if you ever want a fancy dress party, I've got the kit. Welcome the king. Anyway, right now we are dealing with, I've been around a bit, we are dealing with, from Mauritius. This is going to be very effective. Love the kit, I've got to say. So, it is Aurelie Alwax, reigning time trial champion from the African Games. That is proper. So, as you can hear, we are getting rather excited. And even the start, look at this, taking every single one of those curves with exactly the right apex. You know, experience brings you an awful lot, but the line, without having to overcorrect, is actually a big thing. You can essentially, you shorten the distance by taking the absolute correct line, but getting that and mastering it at pace is a difficult task.
Yeah, exactly. And it goes back to the point we were talking about before in terms of doing recons, but then racing at this level and doing it with the pressure in front of the crowds, with the conditions on the day, with so many unknowns against the best riders in the world. It's another thing to get that right. And yeah, it goes back to the fact that we have seen people get it wrong at the highest level, going for the top 3 podium places.
Check this out. Cobbles, you're kidding me. This late on? No, we're not. It is a proper test late on. Now just start looking at elbows, wrists, and you'll kind of see what the impact is. That's essentially the body's shock absorbers. And this is not a pleasant environment to be in. It's great for us. 1.3 kilometres, 6.3%. So not only cobbles, but a climb as well. You're going to know you have been under pressure. Look at that, 11% as a maximum, 6.3 average over the 1,300 metres. And the most difficult part, and you can see it the way the buildings are indented into the side of the road here, What a tough way to finish.
This is such an interesting course, and we talked about it earlier on in the programme, didn't we? But now we are seeing the reality of it. You can see what this is taking, the toll it is putting through the body for Navarro here. And yeah, as you say, this is over 6% average, which we're really seeing now. It's heightening up to 11%, the Côte de Kimihurura, and it's cobbled. You know, it's not just the gradient. You can't just look on paper at the elevation gain today. It's cobbles, it's an ascent, it's dead turns, and we're seeing it all at play now.
Absolutely.